The new sizzle reel for the Rise of Skywalker that was shown during D23 this past weekend featured Rey wielding a double-bladed red lightsaber. Molly and I did a rambly reaction video to descriptions of the footage, and I of course touched on it in my breakdown, but now that we've had some time to process, I wanted to go over some of the possible options I see for what Rey's new look might mean for the movie. I apologize for the very basic visuals on this, but DragonCon is tomorrow, and I wasn't expecting to have this much to talk about after D23, so just view this as an opportunity to really study these two shots. I assume you've seen the footage by now, but if you haven't, Rey's got a lightsaber hilt that can fold in the middle like Pong Krell's lightsabers in the Clone Wars or the Jedi Temple Guards in Star Wars Rebels. The blade itself is unstable, just like Kylo Ren's. She's wearing all black, including a hood, and it looks like she's inside somewhere. And obviously, that was enough to send Star Wars fans into a frenzy. So what's going on here? The most simple answer for me right now is that moment is a vision. J.J. Abrams gave Rey a vision through the Force in Episode 7, maybe he'll do it again in 9. Perhaps Palpatine is showing Rey what she could become if she gave into the dark side of the Force, or maybe it's a vision from Kylo Ren. I hope that's not the case. If they're showing something this significant in the teaser, it would be a letdown if it turned out not to be relevant to the plot. Personally, I don't think that's what's happening here, at least not right now. Daisy Ridley and John Boyega both expressed their surprise that the shot was included in the footage, and they seemed to think it was rather spoilery. I think it's worth noting that StarWars.com called the footage a vision of Rey with a red blade, but that language has since been changed, and I think it was just to avoid confusion. I wouldn't read into that too much. The possibility that I'm leaning towards right now is that it's all real, but Rey might not be fully in control of herself. We know Palpatine is coming back, and we know he can be very persuasive. I kinda like the idea that Rey could be possessed by Darth Sidious, and possessed doesn't feel like the right word because I don't think it would be as meaningful for Rey to not be Rey the entire movie. Like Hawkeye in the first Avengers movie when he just becomes a drone for Loki. I don't think that's the right move, but maybe their mission to the Death Star remains gives the Emperor a chance to latch onto Rey and escape the place he's been haunting for the past 3 decades, and then he can push on those pressure points Rey has just like he did with Anakin. Find a weakness, manipulate, and exploit it. I would much prefer that to a physical reincarnation of Palpatine or a clone or anything like that. I want his presence in the movie to be much more spiritual than anything else. But I do think we will actually see him in the film. I mean, the poster even shows his face, and it would be kind of odd if the big bad of the movie were just, like, the idea of the Emperor and not the Emperor himself. A possession or an influence or whatever you want to call it would also help expedite Rey's turn if that's what's happening. Knowing what we know about Rey, it seems like a lot for her character to fall to the dark side and then, I assume, return to the light in one film. But if she were being pushed by some malignant spirit, it would make sense for things to move a little faster. And yet, there is still a very real chance that Rey could fall all on her own. It could be a choice that she makes with no input from Palpatine. I feel like if that were going to happen in the sequel trilogy, it would have happened in The Last Jedi when she was at her lowest moment in Snoke's throne room. She seems very hopeful and set on her path at the end of the movie. When we first see Luke in Return of the Jedi and he's gone a little dark, it makes sense because he just learned who his father was. I feel like Rey has accepted that who her parents were doesn't matter, and we see her on the Falcon more sure of herself and who she is. There is a time jump between episodes 8 and 9, so anything could have happened off screen, but I think it would be jarring to see her acting like Luke at Jabba's palace the first time we see her again. If she were to fall, I think we'd have to see the start of that fall on screen. Smol's Darklighter, or @SmolsD on Twitter, which by the way is a fantastic username, suggested that Rey could be a bit like Pandora in Greek mythology. Pandora's box held all the evils of the world safely inside it, but she was curious, so she opened it just a little bit, and all that evil escaped. If we started early enough in the film with this idea, I could see Rey justifying the use of a little dark side for the greater good, which is of course a slippery slope that she could continue down until someone pulls her back out. And who could that someone be? I think there are a couple of options. Finn makes a ton of sense, they've been besties since they met, but thematically I think it has to be Kylo Ren. When I first saw The Last Jedi, I thought that he would end Episode 9 in the dark side unredeemed. Kinda like Rey, I thought that if he were to turn things around, he would have done so in the throne room. I don't really think that way anymore, and I'm guessing he will be redeemed. Some people might feel like that's too similar to Return of the Jedi, but I think the addition of saving Rey from a dark fate is enough to put a very different spin on things. Anakin redeemed himself when he made literally the easiest decision in the world: save my son, who just refused to kill me, or let him die. And it took him a lot longer than it should have to make his move. If I were Luke, I would have been like, "Dad, thanks for saving me, but what the hell?" But the relationship between Rey and Kylo is different. Yes, Kylo absolutely cares for Rey, but they aren't blood. And every single movie in the sequel trilogy has hinged on a decision that Ben Solo has to make. The Rise of Skywalker could present him with a very difficult one. In The Last Jedi, he pleads with Rey to join him so they can rule the galaxy together. She turns him down then, but what if she's gone all dark side in Episode 9 and she changes her mind? What if Kylo Ren can get exactly what he wanted in the last movie, but he knows it'll come at a heavy cost to Rey? I'm very much looking forward to seeing whatever big decision is put in front of Kylo this time around, because those moments have been the most tense of the previous two movies for me. Of course, there are more options out there for Rey, like maybe this is the dark side clone of Rey. Rey! Please, no, I would not like to see clones of any major characters in this film. If the Sith Troopers turn out to be clones, okay, I can get behind that, but no clones of Rey or Palpatine, please. I also want to briefly talk about where this shot takes place. It's impossible to say right now, but she looks like she's surrounded by metal or carved stone. And since it's just a wild dream of mine to see this location in Episode 9, what if that's Vader's castle? We know the helmet is back, and I think it would be a fantastic place to revisit. Kylo could see his grandfather's old stomping grounds, and it would be pretty awesome if the birthplace of Darth Vader were also the site of the death of Kylo Ren, and by that I mean the death of that persona, but the return of Ben Solo. But of course, I have no idea what's going on with Darkseid Rey in that footage. Only a handful of people in the world do. Daisy Ridley was surprised they even showed it, but it's clearly the perfect teaser content because it's driving everyone insane with the possibilities. So what do you guys think Rey and her red lightsaber could mean for the Rise of Skywalker? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.